season 3, episode 2, not under, but the Red Hood. And we're doing these reviews screenshot free now because for some reason HBO Max and Disney Plus no longer allowed me to take screenshots. So if anybody knows how I can get over that hurdle, please let me know. So this episode starts where, and I say Under the Red Hood because this episode did pull a lot of things from the Under the Red Hood animated movie, where, it has, the gangs, like all the gangs sitting at the round table talking about how there's this guy that's going around killing people and everybody thinks it's Batman and they're just like, oh, Batman doesn't kill. You heard what happened to the Joker, right? And then all of a sudden, the mysterious figure is in the rafters and then he comes down. He has he's just like, oh, I'm going to take control of all the gangs and you're going to give me 40% of your cut, but you're going to be happy about that because you're going to make an ass load of money. And then, they're just like, well, who are you? And then he kills the one dude and then he steps into the camera frame and then we see Jason Todd in the costume. We all know it's Jason Todd, obviously. he's like, I'm the Red Hood, and it was cool. And I have to say, the actor looks really, like, the costume looks good. He looks good in the costume. And I like how he has like the voice modulator to make him sound different, but it's still him. Because like the actor himself, like he does have like this weird, like accent, sometimes like certain words he says sounds a little like funny. And he always says like, or like, huh. But when he's using the voice modulator, you don't hear any of that, and he literally does sound like a different, more maniacal person, which is cool. So like I said, so he's controlling the gangs now, and he's about to put his plan in play to try to take down the Titans. Dick ends up going to Barbara, Barbara's still being a bitch, and then Dick tells Barbara, that Bruce, like bashed in like the Joker skull, and that, he left, and then she told him, she was like, oh, we found his plane, it took off, and then but we don't know where it landed. And then she was just like, oh, what did he say to you before he left? And then Dick was like, oh, he just told me to do what he could and be a better Batman. And then Barbara's like, you're not actually gonna do it, are you? And he was just like, well, I can't leave, because I was like, Bruce just left the city, and it's like, if the criminals know that Batman is gone, then the criminals are going to take over the city. So he was like, I just can't leave. And then she was like, be a better Batman. She's just like, what kind of person? She's like, what kind of person, does something like that and then foolishly steps into their father's shoes to try to live up to their unrealistic expectations. And he's like, I don't know, Commissioner Gordon. And I was like, bird, so. And then he told her, he was like, yo, I'm bringing in the Titans. And then she was just like, why? And he was just like, bitch, like, you want us to save the day or not? So he calls in the Titans. The Titans are on their way. So all the Titans show up, even Donna shows up, Corey, Superboy, Beast Boy. No one has mentioned Rose yet. And I need someone to mention Rose. Like, I need to know what happened to Rose. But if Jason is the Red Hood now and he's running amok all over through Gotham, it's only a matter of time before Rose comes back to try to like save him anyway. So we'll see what happens with that. Still no mention. Well, Raven did get a mention. Rachel got a mention in the first episode by Gar, but nobody still brought up Rachel. They still didn't bring up well, Donna. They think Donna's dead, so why would they bring Donna up? So so that's where that's where we're at right now. So like I said, so the Titans come to the mansion. Dick is just like, yo, get some food, get some rest, because we about to hit these streets. And we about to do the damn thing. Hank shows up. He's just like, yeah, like, sorry. He said, I'm on a bicycle, so it took me a while to get here. And then him and Donna get into it, and she's like, why did you come here, Hank? And he's just like, because he's like, the Titans need help. He was like, like, we need help taking down Jason. And then she was just like, oh, I thought we were gonna give each other space. And then he was like, we did give each other space. And then she was just like, I thought you were gonna do your own thing and I was gonna do mine. And he was like, woman, like, the Titans, that is my thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if anything, it's really jacked up of her to say that, because if you want to be really honest, Hank was fighting crime first with his brother before Don even came into the picture. So I'm like, for her to say that to him, I was like, yo, that don't even, I was like, all right, see, you just being stupid right now. So Barbara ends up calling Dick down to the station, and then she shows him some footage of a woman who, like went to a camera, left a message for the GCPD, and then she put a bomb in a bank and like blew everybody up in the bank. When they took out the message was for him to call was for the GCP to get Nightwing. So they bring the woman, they actually arrested the woman, they brought the woman down to GCPD, Nightwing shows up, and then he's talking to the girl. The girl had like some weird detonator thing in her arm that had numbers on it. Dick told Barbara the numbers. Barbara typed the numbers into the telephone, and then when they called the numbers operated a bomb that was or something that was in the woman's arm, and then Barbara indirectly killed that woman by using those numbers that Dick gave her. Then there was a whole situation where there were a lot of there were a lot of kids that got kidnapped. You know, like there were parents who were at a bank, and the people who were at the bank, their children got abducted. So there are hostages in the bank. There are kids being held hostage, and the Titans are trying to like figure out how to save how to save these kids. So now they're trying to come up with this whole plan. They're trying to figure out what to do, and Dick doesn't know what to do. So then Barbara was just like, she was like, well, Bruce had suggested that for cases like this, we talk to the Scarecrow, Jonathan Crane. Dick wasn't happy about it, but he went to go talk to Crane anyway. Him and Crane had a nice conversation, and then Crane basically told him, he looked at the letter, he looked at the note, he looked at all the information, and then Crane told him flat out, he was just like, well, whoever this person is that's doing these bank robberies, he knows who Nightwing is, and he's basically setting a trap in order to lure Nightwing out. And then he told him, he was just like, he said that what's going on with the whole bank, if you look at the note represents, a game of chess, and what happened at the bank was the first move. So now they're trying to, so then Dick was just like, all right, well, if this was his first move, now we got to figure out what his second move is. So he ends up trying to figure out the chess game, like what would a second move be on a chess piece? He gets frustrated, like he ends up leaving. Gar ends up figuring it out because, thanks to Superboy, he was just like, oh, he was talking about like people who played chess back in the day. And he said this one guy, he had like gold fillings or something in his mouth. And he took the fillings out of his mouth because he thought that the government was using his fillings to track him due to radio silence. And then that's when Gar was like, yeah, it was a defensive move. So we shouldn't be trying to figure out what the next move is. We should be trying to figure out what the defensive move is for the other person. And then when Gar actually figured it out, and then, Dick ended up like decrypting the message or whatever, it had something like the first move was called like the Robin or something. And then they said that, a lot of the streets that the banks were on, I believe, they were names of birds. Like all the streets had different bird names on it. So they put two and two together, and then they find out, like where, they find out where the next caper is going to be and what the next situation is going to be, which was the bank that had all those kids kidnapped and then had all those people in it. So the Titans go down, they go down there, they send Superboy and Gar to find the kids. Superboy and Gar find the kids, and then like the Titans, they're up there, they're trying to talk down the bank robbers, they're trying to save the people. Another bomb goes off, and then when another bomb goes off, we find out that the people, like Superboy found another car that had the actual parents in it. So one car had the kids in it, one car had the parents, because the people in the bank, they were pretending to be the parents, and they were actually posing as like criminals. So then like, when they found that out, that those were actual criminals and not really the parents, then another bomb went off and the criminals escaped with like 10 millions of dollars. And then Barbara got mad and cursed everybody out. And it turned into this whole big thing between Barbara and Dick. So then after again deciphering the chess, like the chess thing, because he had, because Dick went to Crane a couple of times, and then between Crane and Gar, when they figured out something else, like they ended up going to like a different street and a different warehouse. All the Titans show up, like this big gang fight ensues between the Titans and the gangs, and they're shooting and there's violence and everything. And then there's the moment where, Dick and Red Hood come face to face. The two of them get into like this whole big thing. They get, they end up exchanging blows and things back and forth. And then after they exchanged everything back and forth, like Nightwing used his weapons, Red Hood used his weapons, and then one of Nightwing's weapons exploded and it broke, like the Red Hood mask. And then after that, I guess like the voice modulator broke. And then, Jason took the mask off, and then he was just like, well, Bruce always did say you were better at the toys than I was. And then that's when Nightwing realized, he was like, holy shit, it's Jason. And and then he started freaking out. But he didn't get a chance to like freak out for too long, because the moment he freaked out, Jason disappeared. And then the episode ended with Dick just standing there looking stuck on stupid while Jason dipped and fled the scene. And that's how the episode ended. We also, regarding Corey, because aside from like Don and like Hank and Don, Corey was really the only other person that kind of had something going on, because once again, like there's something weird going on with her powers that obviously is it's related to her sister Blackfire. And this time, because I remember in the last one, when she started like wigging out and had like these weird dreams or these weird visions, she ended up like halfway in the middle. She left the mansion and she was like halfway in the middle of the street. This time she ended up like, going through something where her brain, like her brain was going crazy, and she started speaking in Tamaranian. She was walking around the mansion talking in Tamaranian, not knowing where she was. And then when Gar and Superboy tried to like, break her out of it, she tried to attack them. She used her fire. Superboy used his freeze breath. He knocked the fire out of the way, and then, Corey snapped out of it. And then when she snapped out of it and saw the fire, she tried to blame them for that. But then they looking at her like, girl, that was on you. And, so now She's like, she's still trying to figure out what's going on, because like there is something really weird going on. Something was going on with her powers in the last season in the Elio episode where they were all at the diner. So Corey got some things she got to figure out, but we'll see what happens going forward. So thank you for tuning in. So this is getting good, man. Like, this thing is off to the races. Like, they're not pulling any punches. We're not wasting a lot of time with long, drawn-out story or conversation. Like, this thing is, like, hitting. Like, they're just, like, going on and on and on and on. And I said, I've been waiting for Titans for the longest, because I've been talking about it in all my reviews. So now that it's here, you know, like, I'm ready to dive in, and I can't wait to see how crazy it gets as we continue on the journey. So again, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Instagram, definitely hit me up on YouTube. Leave your questions, comments, and or concerns down below. And let me know what you think about Titans so far. What you think about episode 1, episode 2, and beyond. I'll be back for episode 3. So until then, until Titans, take care, guys. And for the Red Hood, I'm out this bitch!